What's up, math scholars? We are doing 9-5 solving square roots. Everybody needs a calculator around their desk. I see a lot of people with no calculators. We're going to be doing square root button today. Make sure we know where the square root button is. Hey, before we even start, does everybody know where the square root button is? No. It's a second x squared button, which is on the left. Who's excited to learn square roots? Yeah! Okay, so to solve using square roots, we're going to follow a few main steps. First of all, isolate the square. That means isolate the term that's got the x squared. So if you need to move the 9, move it. If you need to move the 3, move it. You save that taking the square root until last. And you always put the plus minus doodad in front. So let's try this example problem. Who thinks they know step 1? Kaylee. Add 9 is correct. Good job.
Congratulations.
Found myself a scholar over there.
That's just
So 27 equals 3x squared. Who thinks they know step 2? Kaylee. Very good. So we're basically trying to get the x squared alone. That's what isolate the square means. Get the x squared alone. And that's going to be 9. Now you're ready to take the square root. And don't forget your plus minus doodad. So we're square rooting. I think I heard Nick say it. It's plus or minus 3. Now you do know you can always check your answer, right? So I could go back to the top and put my little check mark, and I can see if 18 does equal 3 times 3 squared minus 9. But I'd also have to check that 18 equals 3 times negative 3 squared minus 9. So you can check. We're not going to probably check all of them today, but it's our first one, so maybe we could check those. You know what? I think it's time for board buddies. Let's have our board buddies do part A only. Alrighty, so step 1. Hey, I'm just like looking at this group's work on the board. I do save these notes for other kids to look at, so let's fix their work a little bit. What was step 1? They didn't show that. Good. Divide by 2 has to be your first step. You have to isolate that x squared term. So divide by 2 first. Then step 2 is to do the square root on both sides. They forgot one thing in their final answer. Nope. What did they forget in their final answer was the question. Yep, the plus or minus doodad. Because the answer can be positive 2 or negative 2. They forgot it, and they forgot. Nobody forgot. Nobody remembered it. All right, I'm going to send up a group to do part B. Okay, on this one, there were 2 steps. The people at the smartboard aren't showing their work as well as I would like. I would like to see the plus 18 appear on both sides. That leads us to m squared equals 0. You still have one more step. What would it be? Square root both sides. Now, I had a discussion. Do you need to put the plus or minus in front of the 0? No, there's no such thing as a negative 0, and there's no such thing as a positive 0. It's just 0. So that's your answer. Cool.
Wow, I actually got that right.
Good job. All right, let's have my board buddies, people come up and do part C only. Okay, so step 1, I'm very happy with my group that came in Smartboard. They showed all their steps very nicely. They subtracted 12 first, then they square rooted, and you cannot square root a negative. You can't have 2 numbers multiplied together to give you a negative number. So we're going to say no solution. We did have trouble with our spelling, but I'm not your spelling teacher, so I'm not mad. I'm equally terrible at spelling, so I'm not mad. Okay, we're going to send up board buddies on part D. We're going to see how this goes. Hey, people in the video, I thought this would be a good learning moment. Let's look at their step 1. Did they do the correct step 1? Minus 12.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. Very good. Then they square rooted. Did they do the correct step 2?
Yeah.
No. When you get to here, you need to isolate. Before you use square roots, you need to isolate the w squared. When you get here, you have 5w squared equals negative 20. You still have to divide. Yep. Save your square rooting until dead last. So it's the negative 4 that you're actually square rooting, and that's what leads you to no solution because you can't square root a negative number. Time for more board buddies. I lied. Let's do it together. I want to talk about how to square root a fraction. We haven't done that yet. So we're going to do it together. We're going to divide both sides by 4. And instead of leaving it at turning it into a decimal, we're going to leave it as a fraction because I want to talk about how you can square root fractions. It's kind of cool how you can do it. When you get to here, you're going to do a square root. And so what I wanted to talk to you about is what you can do is you can just square root the numerator. So it's the square root of 9.
3.
And you can square root the denominator. What's the square root of 4? So that's your answer, plus or minus 3 over 2. Isn't that cool? Yeah. I changed my mind because I didn't know if the word buddies would be able to figure that out without decimals. We'll send the buddies up for this. They're flat out saying they want round to the nearest hundredths, so that's probably my way of thinking, oh, we're probably going to have a decimal answer this time. Okay. Hey, people in the video, my group that came up did such a good job showing their steps. Step 1 was add the 11 to both sides. Step 2 was divide both sides by 3. And then step 3 was square root both sides. Now let's talk rounding. The calculator, after I square rooted the 6, gave me 2.449489743. If you want to round to the nearest 1,000, that is this position that I'm underlining right now. How do you know whether to round it up or keep it a 4, right?
4 less, keep it.
So you look here, and if it's 4 or less, you keep it. If it's 5 or up, you round it up. So we're going to go with 2.45 for our correct rounding. I'm normally not a picky grader when it comes to rounding, but if you're taking an air test and they say round to the nearest hundredth, I bet they would be picky if you round it wrong. So they teach rounding in what, 4th grade, so maybe even 3rd grade.
Oh, you got it wrong, yeah.
All right, some of my students said I used the wrong terminology in the video, but we did do the rounding correct. So it's 2.45, and this is called the hundredth place. You look at the thousandth to help you round the hundredth correctly. Hey, we're on the video right now. We're on the video right now. All right, we're going to do this one together. It's getting a little harder. We want to talk about how to do it if you have a group of numbers. Some of you might be thinking we're going to move the 7 first. That 7 is trapped right now. That 7 can't move. It's trapped in the parentheses with the squares. Ray, do you have an idea? Ken, do you have an idea? Nick, idea?
Why would you distribute the 2?
We're not distributing. Jose, you have an idea?
Right, x minus b times.
Nope, we're not going to distribute. What we're actually going to do is square root both sides. Let me explain why.
X minus.
Let me explain why. The square root and the square are inverse operations, and they will cancel one another and liberate the x minus 7 that was trapped. What I'll do is I'll square root that 6, and I'll put a plus or minus 2.45. Now, this is where it gets a little bit confusing, but I think you guys have the brain power to persevere. What will I do to finish the problem? Now, here's where you got to use your brain, your thinking brain. We're going to have 2 answers. We need to do positive 2.45 plus 7. So positive 2.45 plus 7 is 9.45. But where people have trouble is you also need to do negative 2.45 plus 7. And that's 4.55. So everybody will get this answer. This is where people will struggle because they'll forget to do negative 2.45 plus 7. Does that make sense? Yes. Let's go ahead and do this one together because this one's really strange. What do you guys think step 1 is going to be? Dylan? We don't have to distribute, not if we divide. If we start by dividing by 3, the 3 is gone and we don't need to worry about distributing. Now, I don't think you would have been wrong if you did distribute. You'd just be on a little bit different pathway to the answer, but that would probably be okay. That's going to be a 14. What should I do next? Nobody said it, but it is subtract 5. And what should I do last? Square root. I think they're getting tired. It's Friday.
Yeah.
So it's plus or minus 3. I'll find a really good graduation problem for you guys to finish up with, okay? Hey, I found a pretty challenging graduation problem, but this will separate the scholars from the boys and the girls.
Oh.
Go ahead and try it.
Whoa.
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 Go ahead and see if you can figure it out. I think a couple of you can. I'll go over it at 9:20. Okay. I am looking for bouncing around some ideas. How did you guys think we can move the 4/3? Here? Nope, we're not going to distribute. Then we'll have 4/3 everywhere. So we could divide by 4/3, but easier yet, what I'm going to do is multiply by 3/4. It accomplishes the same thing as dividing. So that's going to be a 15, I believe, if you type it in. All right, we have 2 more steps. What should we do next? Square root both sides. So that's going to give us k plus 6 equals, it's going to be a decimal, so let me type it in super quickly. Plus or minus 3.9. I'll just round to the nearest 10. And then I have one last step, moving my 6. So let me really use my thinking brain. I have to do, hey, we're still in the video. I have to do 3.9 minus 6, which is negative 2.1. And I also have to do a negative 3.9 minus 6, and that's negative 9.9. And those are your 2 answers. Did anybody happen to get it? It was hard.
No.
No? All right, I'm going to pass out a worksheet for your homework, so thanks for watching the video at home.